Good day. This is Genetics Notes Part 3. So we've done page 1. Page 2 introduced you to Mendel's experiments. And now, page 3 of this, we get to Mendel's 3 hypothesis. The principle of unit characters, the principle of dominance and recessiveness, and the law of segregation. So the principle of unit characters was the idea that each plant must be carrying 2 factors for each trait. Now we call those factors genes. And that means a gene came from each parent, so the male part and the female both contributed. And we like to represent these with letters. So if you have a dominant gene, it's given a capital letter, so tall would be a big T. And if you have a recessive trait, short is a little t. So we use the letter for the dominant trait, but we make it lowercase for the recessive trait. So if you have a pure tall plant, it's capital D, capital T. Pure short plant is little t, little t. Now we look at the principle of dominance and recessiveness. What this is saying is if you have 2 different genes, one dominant, one recessive, the dominant one will mask the recessive one from being expressed. So what that means is if we have big T, little t, so we have dominant and recessive gene, it's like the recessive gene's not there. We only get the trait for tallness. The word we use is heterozygous, hetero meaning different. And backtracking, here we had 2 of the same genes, and there we had 2 of the same genes, so those are homozygous. This would be homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive. Homo means the same. Now the law of segregation takes you back to Science 9. And this was the idea of meiosis and the formation of gametes. So for the simple traits we're going to look at, and we can look at them in pea plants, but we can look at them in humans. And so there are some simple traits in humans where we can just look at 2 factors for each trait, 2 factors for each gene. And what that means is, during meiosis, either the formation of egg or sperm, that's what it means by sex cells, you only get 1 of those 2 genes. Now, if something's homozygous, then we know what gene it's going to get because there's only 1 type of gene there. But if it's heterozygous, that means half of the sex cells will have the dominant trait and half will have the recessive trait. So that's what it's talking about here, the role of meiosis. So if you have blue eyes, little b, all you can contribute is little b. If you have brown eyes, big B, then all you can contribute is this dominant gene. And if you're heterozygous for brown eyes, you're going to chip in the gene for brown or the gene for blue. So on the next video, which will be the 4th page, we're going to look at things called Punnett squares.